Welcome to Simplifying AI in Government. I'm your host, Ayman Aitani. I'm joined by my colleagues, Jad and MG, and we talk about AI use cases for government and how AI can be used for day-to-day productivity. Jad, MG, how are we doing today?
We're all good, Ayman. Ayman, we're going to jump right in. So, Amazon launched a new initiative which offers free AI tools to public sector organizations. We know that this is a hot topic right now, that government employees have to be empowered using AI. A big part of it is accessibility to these tools, and Amazon is being on the front end on providing these tools. So basically, they launched a $50 million fund for public sector organizations to tap into its portfolio of AI tools. So they will be in the form of credits. And they launched it in the form of response to the challenges, whether it was financial challenges or whether it was accessibility challenges to these types of tools in multiple organizations, educational organizations, healthcare, maybe the finance sector. However, they want to give these individuals tools for free in order for them to enhance productivity and for them to enhance their education on using these tools. So the suite of tools that they are offering are Amazon Bedrock, which is a platform for building Gen AI applications, Amazon Q, which you might be familiar with, which is a coding and business focused chatbot, AWS Health Scribe, which transcribes the clinical notes directly between the doctor-patients conversations, and many more. So it is a global initiative that Amazon launched. They launched it recently, and it will span until June 2026. And it's open to everyone, basically, who can apply. They have a form on their website where they request few information about the individual, about the organization, and then you may be eligible to have access to these suite of tools from Amazon. They're also offering training. They're offering technical support. So it's a pretty good move for public organizations. But I'm thinking, is this an attempt for Amazon to establish more presence in the AI space, given that most of the headlines are focused on ChatGPT, Gemini, and others?
Amazon has a series of its own AI tools, similar to what you might know with ChatGPT, and they also have the transcription services, coding, data analytics. They have a wide variety of AI tools that they either own and build and run themselves, or they host other companies' AI tools. As part of the long-term growth is they want to get more people to use their tools. So government entities, education, private sector. So with the initiative of providing free services for government entities, the objective of this is to reduce the friction for government entities to use AI services from Amazon. This way, there's no need to go through a very lengthy procurement process because the credits are there for them to use. This way, the government entity can start to experiment with the Amazon AI tools, and if the government entity has great AI use cases and they move their data and they're using it heavily and kind of stuck using it, they like it, they're going to continue to use it, exceeding the free credits they have. So it's partially, so Amazon's trying to do is, one, to promote its own AI tools, two, to onboard more government entities to use them, and three, it's a part of their sales, one of their many sales funnels towards getting more and more government entities to use their cloud services.
Yeah, I definitely agree that it is a strategic move by Amazon, because if once you're inside the organization, once employees and public sector individuals get used to working with these types of environment of tools and environments, they sort of have the first mover advantage, even though people are used to ChatGPT. But when it's more integrated into your work, it becomes more difficult for you to kind of shift all the content, all the data, all what you're working on into another platform. So, I mean, that's definitely good for Amazon. But would we see ChatGPT or Microsoft moving in a similar direction? I would think maybe yes.
Today, Microsoft already has programs for government entities and for education. For education, it tends to be free by default. For government entities, not always. But providing free credit to use services is not new to Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and others. So it's a way to reduce the friction for to onboard organizations to use their service. So I can see more companies would tend to use that.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely big moves from these companies to have more presence in the space, like Amazon or GPT or Microsoft. We know that Microsoft is big in the UAE, so maybe Amazon is also trying to establish its presence in governments elsewhere. But yeah, the initiative is still early. Would you, for example, Ayman, I know that you work with governments. Would you? I don't want to ask like recommend AWS, but would you consider this for some government individuals?
Governments always focus on where the data is, where the data resides, the residency of the data. Is it in the country or not? And if it's in part of the authorized data centers or not. And that's why many of the global companies, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and others, have been establishing local data centers in different parts of the world where they feel that the government is digitizing a lot of their services and they want to move their data from their own data centers to local data centers. And they have a concern of data residency where the data is. And that's why you see Amazon, Microsoft, and Google investing to have those data centers. With those data centers in the country, then it becomes a sales process to show them that their data center is a better technical product than others. Mm-hmm. It has more features, more functions. Yeah. It saves cost in the long term, and so on. So it becomes that. But data residency is a prerequisite, go, no go, for a government entity to embrace digitization and AI.
All right.
All right, and for the next topic on our list, it's the city of San Jose in California, USA, which is also, they call it the capital of Silicon Valley, using AI to streamline government. So since November, they launched something called the Government AI Coalition, and it is supposed to set standards for responsible use of AI in governments. Since then, they have more than 300 cities that joined them in this coalition, and more than 700 government executives and leaders. So what they're focusing on now is, one, they're calling it a beehive of AI. Two, they're using AI for several things, but they're focusing on one of them, which is finding issues that needs to be resolved before being a challenge for citizens. And they mentioned that the results are already proven. They're getting high results by using AI. So they're focusing on public transit, on translating documents, on reviewing documents, especially applications, social assistance, and etc., and finding street issues like potholes, broken street lights, and more. And the main thing is that they notice these problems and fix them before even the citizens notice them. So if you check this image, I think the AI is built into their cameras, their radars, and the street cameras and radars, and it identifies that there's a pothole here, this is the locations, it needs to be fixed, and this is how they're using AI. So while also they mentioned road safety is very important area to focus on and to use AI and to improve it for the citizens, they also had some privacy concerns. So they're not storing any data just to keep the privacy of homeless people and take them into consideration.
So the city of San Jose found a valid AI use case for identifying potholes and problems on the streets that need repair and fixing. So what they're doing is they're getting cameras to record and then AI to identify potholes, problems on the side of the road. What I like about the AI use case is it's easy to implement. So it requires a car that has camera recordings, which Google Maps and others have been using for many, many years. And the driver just walks around, just drives around the city. And then that footage, the AI tool would recognize very specific elements. So it's on the road that would need fixing, and those elements then would be flagged to humans for them to look into them further. The alternative would be to wait for citizens to complain. or to send more people to physically go to certain areas. And these people need to be somewhat specialists in this because they need to understand this, to have enough training to do this. With this aspect, it's just a driver in a car, so they're just driving around, and then the tech between recording and the automated analysis will take care of it. And the cost to implement it is reasonable, and the effects of it is effective because San Jose as a city can also use it to look at have the holes been fixed, has the issue on the side of the road been addressed or not yet, so they can look at the before and after and flag if things are happening or not. So it's less reliance on the human element, less reliance on human error, cost reduction, and a faster rollout of services for citizens and residents.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think you mentioned that they're integrating. It's easy to integrate it with cars moving around, just like the one Google Maps use. But do you think they're also integrating it with one? Because I know for a fact, like every street light has its own camera, so that's one. Two, do you think they're also using this to also identify people that cross red lights or like park illegally?
It could be. It could be.
From a technology perspective, AI can be used to identify people who are crossing red lights and accidents and so on. But logistically, it's tough because the department in charge of red lights and crossing red lights is different than the department in charge of identifying potholes in the street that need fixing and or jaywalking or so on. So they're different departments. Plus, many of the cameras are not in the right locations, or there are not enough cameras in the right locations, or some cameras are older than others, so it might not have enough good footage in order to use AI in order to identify them. But if you have a standalone vehicle that has, it's usually it's a semicircle that has a series of different cameras on top of the car, and the car is driving. This way, it would then record everything around it, and you instruct the AI to ignore people, to ignore cars parked on the side properly, and just focus on illegal car parking, problems on the side of the road, potholes, broken things, debris on the floor, excessive trash from that are obstructing traffic, and things like this.
Yeah. I'm also aware of few cities who are. They're not necessarily using camera technology or AI to enhance maybe the roads, but they have implemented AI to some degree. Like, for example, in Buenos Aires in 2019, just even before the wokeness of AI had launched, they launched a chatbot for their citizens to communicate back and forth, which was this chatbot that we were used to. Like, it has standard answers and certain flows and so on. But now they have enhanced it with AI to one extent that in 2021 to 2022, users would be able to send voice clips of their coughs so that it can detect whether they had COVID or not. And to their surprise, it was, as they claimed, it had 88% accuracy. So they're using AI for that. Others, like Amsterdam, they're using AI in order to create more sustainable materials. So they're using generative AI to create these materials using neural networks and natural language processing to design the molecules that actually build these desired materials with their desired properties and components and so on. So this is an initiative launched with the University of Amsterdam, but they are using the natural language processing, which you would think is only for text input. However, they're using it to design the molecules in order to have new sustainable materials. And finally, we have in Dallas, which somewhat aligns with San Jose, because we're familiar with the concept of autonomous cars and self-driving cars, because thank you, Elon. But now they're taking it a bit further with something that they're calling Copilot 4D. Now, this is not to be confused with Microsoft Copilot. However, this is a technology which is used in self-driving cars, which enhances them or boosts them with LiDAR sensors, but it doesn't stop there. It scans the area. It scans, like, it builds its own 3D map of the road, but And the enhanced part is that it can anticipate up to 10 seconds what might happen on the road based on the surroundings. So they're even kicking it one step further with Gen AI in order to predict and anticipate what's going to happen. So we're seeing how Gen AI is impacting a lot of cities globally, and it's being immersed in our daily lives. So, Emma, which out of these do you think is the most kind of stood out to you most?
What you shared are valid use cases, many different valid use cases. What I like about the autonomous car part is there's also a reduction in human needs, so that the car that's moving around no longer needs a driver on this. But I think the cost will be high, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
So it's actually more cost effective to have the driver to drive around the city with a car that's equipped with different sets of cameras that can record. There will also be privacy concerns that Google already had with their Google Maps when they were driving around, that they were taking pictures and videos of people who are on the street, next to stores, next to their houses. What the governments would likely do is disregard that content. So that content is recorded, but they'll train the AI tool to disregard people, faces, and anything that is not related to their specific target, which is identifying problems on the street.
For these specific use cases, do you think governments would, for example, wait for such a company to mature and then they would help it to provide the service, or some more advanced governments would decide, no, let's develop this in-house and maybe we can have full control on what's happening, especially that government information, government data is very private, so they would want to retain as much maybe secrecy around around those information.
For governments to adopt AI, a strong driver of this would be an external trigger. So there's a problem that they're looking to solve, and they're looking, how can AI help me solve this? So it's not AI is cool, let me find my use case and do this. It's more of day-to-day, what are the problems that I'm having? So the case that we reviewed is there are a lot of potholes in the street. We're getting a lot of complaints from people. We don't have enough manpower to roam all of these streets and identify these potholes and prioritize them for us. How can we use AI for this? So the use case of the city of San Jose is they send cars with specialized cameras. They drive around the city, and those cameras record the street and the size of the street, and AI would identify potholes, pothole sizes, problems on the side of the road, anything obstructing traffic unnecessarily, like if there's a construction with a spillover of construction material or trash covering parts of the street, or whatever the scenario is. AI can be used for this. So this way, the problem originally, the government had a specific target and specific problem it wants to solve, and then it looks at, okay, how can AI help me solve this problem cost effectively?
Yep, 100%.
I was on mute. Okay, so yep. The last one is Dragon Oil, which is the government, an oil company owned fully by the government of Dubai.
Dragon Oil?
Yep, it's called Dragon Oil.
I'm thinking of a movie where they're fighting over dragon oil and who has access, who can slay the dragon to extract the oil, which is very expensive, that they can buy. So that's where my head went, Jean.
Yeah, I double checked again. It's called Dragon Oil, and it's owned by the government of Dubai. And a month ago, they created the AI retreat. It's specific for them. And they brought in specialists, experts, AI trainers, and so on, to study development of oil fields in Egypt and in the Middle East. So this project had three main goals. One is enhancing the productivity of the employees, of the team working on it. Two, extending the life of oil fields, because at some point oil fields die, and they want to see how, with the use of AI, they can extend the life of oil fields. And three, improve sustainability and, of course, the environment and such. So the project launch included a 4-day training for more than 50 engineers, specialists, oil executives. And it's the first global oil company in the Middle East to use such AI technology.
What's the use case, though? How is AI being used for that? So there's a training bit I get. What about the other? How is it being used practically from what you saw?
Yeah, so they didn't get into much detail. So they just announced that they did the retreat, they trained the executive, and they're gonna start using AI technology to identify new fields and extend the lives of new one. I think maybe the AI can tell them how to use more advanced technologies or existing ones to better extract oil and
So
such.
if AI, the term you used is identifying new oil fields or extending the life of existing ones. In oil and gas, technology has been used for a very long time, not only for extraction but also for efficiency of the oil and for increased productivity. One way AI can be used is analysis of the imagery. So discovering new oil fields or gas fields and identifying adjacent ones involves complex devices that do the necessary scans, whether it's visual or audio or so on, to identify potential pockets for this. And then there are tools that analyze the visual part of this, and also humans who analyze the visual part of this. AI can be trained on hundreds of thousands of past images of successful oil identification locations and gas and other extracts. And then the tool can run on imagery, whether it's new imagery or past imagery of certain scans in certain areas, and potentially flag saying that, look, I've identified this area you've disregarded in the past, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 30 years ago, you disregarded. But when using on this imagery, I've matched it. The AI has studied hundreds of thousands of images, and they've matched it to a certain pattern. This way, it can prompt the oil and gas company to go and locate, to revisit those areas that they've passed on in the past, based on a new analysis that AI can do. So that could be a potential use case in the oil and gas industry.
Yep, and that's it from my side. MC, do you have anything to add on this topic?
I was wondering if maybe AI could be used to test the quality of the oil, because there is a process for refining the oil. So I was curious to see maybe if there was some involvement in the process of refining the oil to kind of gauge the quality that's being served out. Maybe they can enhance the quality of serving, but I mean, that would be a mechanical process unless they implement some sort of sensors to test out samples and cross-reference them. So I was just...
anything that's repetitive AI can be implemented, whether it's studying images. So the reason that there's identification of cancer you see coming up more and more in AI is it's about studying imagery and identifying cells that are cancerous. Because there's a huge library of images used in the past, you could train AI on those and it can identify them. This can happen for oil and gas. This can happen for any other industry that relies on images of people, items, and natural phenomena in order to identify certain patterns. So this goes under the AI training. You train the AI saying that these are images, they look like this. These are the anomalies that you're looking for. These are the identifiers that you're looking for, and bring them to our attention, bring them to the attentions of the humans. So that's also within the AI training. If it's repetitive, it can be you can leverage AI for that.
100% on that.
And that's it from us for today. Thank you for joining us, where we talk about AI use cases in government. We are live every Thursday, 5 p.m. Dubai time on LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. Thank you.